I think we owe it to give everybody it back as much as we can. And I truly believe that the better everybody does, the better we all do. Settlements all increase. We don't have to force these cases into trial, and everybody gets equal justice. I want people using systems on the back end. I want people using consistency on the kind of the vendors that they use. Less stuff that lawyers have to think about other than being a great lawyer is one of my missions lately.
Welcome to Trial Lawyer View, the podcast dedicated to the fierce yet compassionate lawyers who fight every day for justice in the courtroom. Our guests are top trial lawyers and their firms who share their stories and experiences, offering valuable insights into their journey, as well as expert guests who provide actionable strategies and practical tips for personal injury lawyers looking to optimize their operations, enhance client service, and drive growth in their practices. Trial Lawyer View is brought to you by Synergy. At Synergy, we aren't just a service provider. We are a strategic partner for personal injury law firms, seamlessly integrating with law firms to boost efficiency from day one. Outsourcing cumbersome administrative tasks like lien resolution and Medicare compliance to an expert partner like Synergy enables personal injury firms to focus on what they do best.
Welcome to another episode of Trial Lawyer View, where I'm joined by Robert Simon. He is the co-founder of the Simon Law Group, also known as the Justice Team, and a leading trial attorney recognized for his exceptional skills in personal injury law. Since launching the firm with his twin brother Brad in 2009, he's helped grow the practice from a small boutique office into a multi-office, 9-figure annual operation. With his deep passion for trucking accident and commercial carrier-related cases, he has become nationally renowned for securing massive verdicts, particularly in spine injury cases. His dedication to consumer advocacy, combined with his competitive edge in trial law, has led to a series of Trial Lawyer of the Year awards, making him one of the most respected figures in the legal community. In addition to his work as a trial attorney, he is a forward-thinking innovator in legal tech and business management. He is co-founder of Justice HQ and Attorney Share, platforms aimed at helping law firms streamline operations and foster collaboration as well as referrals. Through his leadership at these ventures, he is working to modernize the legal industry, empowering solo practitioners and small firms to grow while promoting transparency and integrity. Known for his community involvement and mentoring efforts, he also spends time mentoring up-and-coming trial lawyers, giving back to the legal community. A proud girl dad and a dedicated advocate for foster children and adoption, he balances his career with his commitment to family and giving back. Today, we touch upon bourbon, of course, his formula for success, do a mini deep dive on technology, and talk about Justice HQ as well as Attorney Share. Robert, welcome to Trial Lawyer View. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to be with me on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, dude. Always appreciate seeing your smiling face. What books do you have on back there, by the way? I see some books behind you. Are those motivation books, practice guys? What do you got?
Yeah, I've written 2 books, actually working on a third right now. The first was Art of Settlement, which is a guide for trial lawyers like you about liens, Medicare compliance, government benefit preservation like Medicaid and SSI. Those are all kind of my areas of expertise. And then I wrote a book for injured parties called Litigation to Life, because having been part of a personal injury case myself and gone through the entirety of the process, I just thought that giving something back from what I learned throughout that process, because even though I'm a lawyer and been in this ecosystem for so long, it was so hard for me navigating that personally once it was my own case. So anyway, wrote a couple of books.
The Art of Settlement, I mean, it's crazy how that's just an evergreen thing still. It's been the same for what you need to know, but it's such a specialized area of practice, right? And it's so, especially with the state agencies and federal ones, it gets so tedious, and some of the big, especially with the ERISA funded stuff, it's just a different animal.
Yeah, which is good because job security. I just actually finished up the second edition of that first book because I wanted to augment it and update, because things do evolve somewhat. And, the challenge for trial lawyers is just like everything else, there are niches that are kind of ancillary to your practice, but so important. And integral to what you guys do, especially at the end of a case. That area is one that thankfully is a fertile niche for me.
Love it, man. Sorry for the tangent, but I was just curious.
No, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. I wanted to start out with something a little fun, given your appreciation for bourbon, and you've got Bourbon of Proof, your podcast, which, by the way, phenomenal name, and it's incredible, a brilliant idea that you can merge your legal talk a bit with drinking. Love it.
It's also networking and community building too. We got to get you on the show, so it's like, I always bring on people that I'm interested to hear about that are like either actively practicing law adjacent, or building technology, and just it makes it fun. Like we filmed, I think, 8 episodes this week. I mean, it was a lot, 2 days in a row. But one of the guys was one of the original founding team of DoorDash, and now he's in the legal tech space. And just hearing how from startup journey and how you're applying those same principles from a Stanford startup to legal tech startups. It's just a cool space, man. It's just hearing people's different mindset. So under a slight inebriation.
Well, so I had seen something recently about Old Fitzgerald 2024 VVS winning this title of World's Best Bourbon. One, I wanted to ask you if you agreed with that award being presented, and how do you go about evaluating a bourbon? Because I honestly, I've drank bourbon, I've drank whiskey. Actually, the first time I ever really drank hard liquor was my first semester of college. I was a lightweight going into college, but I was given a bottle of Jack Daniels, and me and my roommate proceeded to drink it straight and didn't have any idea how to modulate that, and wound up. It just ended badly. But anyway, so I don't drink whiskey or bourbon these days, just because it's still, to this day, even though it's been a very long time.
Bad experience.
Yeah. But I'm just curious because I know you're an aficionado, so I want to understand it better.
We were actually drinking the Old Fitzgerald. They have a 15, which was excellent. So my buddy just sent me this because when I was at Old Fitzgerald, that's one of their towers. You can see that.
Yeah.
But he found this right away. This was, we were in Kentucky a long time ago. But no, Old Fitzgerald's one of the oldest ones. And but it's like anything. They have different entry levels of how good it is. Like their base one is not so great, but as you work your way up, depends on the barrel and how it tastes. But here's my general litmus test on anything. If you like it, it's good. That's it. It's as simple as that. I think spirits are made for different people. They call it a spirit for a reason. And I do very well with high proof bourbons and rye whiskeys. Everything else is for me. But that's me. Don't like scotch. Never have. But I think my first whiskey was also Jack Daniels, the ones out of the handles when I was a kid with my family. So grew up on the same thing. But
yeah, I didn't know if it was sort of like wine where you're looking at color, smell, switching it around a bit on tasting. It doesn't seem like bourbon really that's appropriate, but
it's all pretend stuff. It's I don't know. People get way too into those things and try to over analyze things. It's is it a good sip, or do you like drinking it? Do you like drinking it? That's it.
I'm like you. Yeah. More simple. Does it taste good? Do I like it? All right. Yeah.
No hangover is also a good thing for me. As long as I can drink all day and not be hungover, fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so you're originally from Pittsburgh. I actually spent a fair bit of time in Pennsylvania growing up because we lived in New Jersey, but I've never been to Pittsburgh. Great sports town. But I know from a little bit of research from back in your early childhood that your uncle was struck by a drunk driver and suffered a serious spinal cord injury. Your dad was a truck driver. And that ultimately led you down this path of spine injury cases and truck cases as a specialization. And you've kind of written the book, figuratively and literally, on disc cases. How does that past continue to fuel your passionate work on those types of cases, as well as educate others on it?
If you know it, live it, and breathe it, you understand it. And you can come from an extreme place of empathy when somebody has that injury, because you've seen it not only affect that individual, but the ripple effect from close family members to even coworkers and everything around it. What people have a niche practice, and I think niche practicing is or niche, however you want to practice it, or say a tomato. People need to get into that, whether it's a super subspecialty injury cases or, even a specific type of brain injury case or patent law, whatever it is, if you're hyper focused and on that one thing, it makes you, one, easier to market, and two, it should be easier for people to find you. And I think we're moving more to that space where, like in baseball, they need that specialty left-handed reliever they're going to pay millions of dollars to get maybe one guy out every 3 days, and that has extreme value. And I think lawyers need to put especially law firms are going to have a great, big consolidation of other firms. If you're super specialized in something and easy to find and you market yourself well, I think you have a high quality of life.
Good point on the empathy part. That's something I always emphasize with our team here. And we do a mission moment every month talking about different cases that we've impacted the net proceeds for an injured party because we got an ERISA lien waived, or we got Medicare to reduce their claim reimbursement, Medicaid, whatever. Maybe.
Telling those human stories are super important. Like we were like, I do a lot of stuff outside of law just to, again, see how other people's mindset. And we were talking to somebody, he's like, you don't understand how valuable it is. What you do for a profession is you're helping so many people that the stories of helping is already there. Like you already have the content. You just have to unlock it. So the art of storytelling, those people that you helped by putting more money into their pocket or into their trust from minimizing their lien and exposure, it's provided them high quality of life, right? So it's that story. It's not so much the granular things of what you do to be able to do it. It's the story of how you help this individual with every use case. And a lot of lawyers, if you're watching or listening to this, talk to your clients. If they're willing to do a testimonial for you to talk about how you've helped them, trust me, that's so much more powerful than you talking about how great you are. I mean, it just is.
Yeah, 100%. The power of story is incredible. And using that internally is really important to me to get our team to understand the opportunity and privilege they have to really make a difference for people. But you talked about this idea of a niche practice, and the disc injury book that you wrote, is that really more of a guide for trial lawyers, or is it helping guide people to that area of practice because you feel like it's an important practice for practitioners to think about?
No, I wrote this book to be the meat and potatoes for most of what personal injury lawyers deal with day to day. To really accelerate, you could do it from base medical education, from here's a disc injury, here's how I identify it, here's how it could be other things. I had 2 chapters written by medical professionals, real medical doctors, to be able to give it, the credibility on the stuff that I'm talking about, and then teach the science. To teach that, and then how you can do things to make your client's recovery better, and how you could better tell their story, and how you work up cases from the beginning, seeing it through the lens of trial at the end, and then takes you all the way through trial. So I want to create a real practice guide that you can use from day one, and that you could also use to accelerate the value of your cases, either through settlement or through verdict. So I didn't want to do a first book that's super high level specialized on stuff. I want something people can actually pick up, read, implement tomorrow, have a meaningful impact on people.
I know it's gotten phenomenal reviews. Where can lawyers who are listening to the podcast get a copy of the book?
Yeah, so they can go to the Trial Guide's website. It's there. If you just search disc injury Robert Simon, it'll pop up. I can give you a code. There's one called FunBob10, which will give you 10% off. FunBob10. It's also on Amazon, but I don't think the discount code applies on Amazon. But you can find it there. Amazon or Trial Guides are the 2 best places to do it.
So I wanted to ask you a bit about your practice. So you built Simon Law Group, also known as the Justice Team, from the ground up with your brother, which is cool. You've taken it from a boutique practice starting out to a nationally recognized 9-figure practice. You've won a lot of Trial Lawyer of the Year awards. What are the core principles or strategies that have contributed to your success and the success of your firm?
I think one being a client-centric firm is we like to know the client's story from the very beginning and tell that damages story so it helps you better advocate for them. And also just as a business owner mentality is you have to really throw your ego out the door and realize that you have to empower all the other lawyers, mid-managers at your firm, give them the tools to be able to do it, promote them, let them accelerate their careers, rather than making you have to do all those things personally. Because if you put yourself in that box and you're the top of that pyramid all the time, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to be the one everybody wants, everybody needs to talk to. They want you to try every case. They want you to do every touch point. If you empower everybody else and highlight them, now you've been able to help a lot more people on scale, and you're not at the top of that pyramid. So that mindset of we brought in good young human beings that were lawyers out of law school, trained them how to try cases, get them in the courtroom early. We made that accelerator program known at our firm. That's what you can do. That's what you can expect. You don't have to go to the DA's office. You can come here. You can get experience. If you want to be a litigator, you can manage the cases. Like there's different skill sets that you want, but that generally was our mindset whenever we did. My brother and I we never knew how big we would grow. It just happened naturally because cases come in. It's like find a way to say yes, right? Like if it's a good case, there's no reason to have them go to another firm that might do less of a service, right? If you need to hire someone else, figure it out, right? So that's just been our general mentality: is find a way to say yes, be selective on the cases, and then through the other stuff that we built, there's overflow capabilities to have other referral networks to be able to make sure the client is still taken care of, and that you kind of stay on as quote unquote the general counsel.
And that actually leads me to something I wanted to ask you about from doing some research before having you on the podcast. I know that you've got a focus on mentoring other trial lawyers. What do you see as the biggest obstacle that newer trial lawyers are facing, and how can they overcome those to become successful in using your kind of model?
The number one thing that trial lawyers always come with is they need repetitions, right? I mean, they need to get in the courtroom. So there's ways to do that. One is if you originate the case, you can kind of call the shots. Always talk that way. So if you could find a way, and I teach lawyers how to market themselves. If you get the case, you can kind of say, look, I want to be part of the trial team, rather than having like the partner at the firm be able to dictate that. The other one is access to capital, because it is very expensive, and it's usually a barrier for a lot of trial lawyers if you own your own firms to be able to pay for experts. There's ways to do that now too. The other one is having the mentorship track, and we provide that through other channels and things like that. But it's also fear. A lot of people, trial lawyers, fear they don't know it well enough. They don't know this area of the specific skill set in trial, or that they're afraid that they're afraid to fail. And what I've been pressing on people is try cases in teams. There are mentors and other lawyers that will do things with you, either for a small rev share and sometimes just for free, because they enjoy the process. Not only help you, but be there with you during trial. And so a lot of trial lawyers don't know is you don't have to do it alone. There's abilities to have access to capital if it's a good case for you to be able to get to trial. And there's a whole group of lawyers that are willing to help you for free. So I think that's it in a big nutshell.
Well, and I think that this sort of dovetails with that. You co-founded Justice HQ to help lawyers build solo practices outside the traditional firm structure. How does Justice HQ support lawyers who want to break away from the old paradigm and also help with all the things you were just describing?
Yes, we build a true community-facing platform where any Justice HQ member can create their own mentorship groups. They can create their own events. They can have access to everybody else's groups that they've created. There's ability for people to literally just log onto our portal, see if there's a trial happening, if people are live streaming a deposition, if vendors have access to it too. So if they're putting on one about I think there's one tomorrow on Monday that one of the artificial intelligence companies that do a lot of big data that do sampling to do jury selection and things. They're putting on a seminar for members where they could just log in, learn how to use these different type of skill sets. So I wanted to create like a choose your own adventure empowerment through mentorship and community nationwide, where people just pay a small monthly subscription and get all of those things, and also access to the marketplace with attorney share, rather than people that pay thousands of dollars a month just for a quote unquote mastermind. I like to do it all in one. Like there's no reason building technology that you cannot give people access to all of those things. So like I hold a monthly disc injury workshop. People literally just bring in their cases. We talk about it. We had one this week, and there was a big hitter lawyer from South Carolina, from Georgia. We had one from Massachusetts, 2 from Colorado, and then a handful from California. And people just brought in their cases, and we were all just talk about here's how we would handle this issue. Here's how we would make your case better. And there's a lot of people that do that every day. We just try to have a consolidated platform. So Justice HQ, you come in, you can do whatever you like to do. If you want to listen to other people's talks, small groups, if you want to create your own, it's all available for you. And then there's also like a listing. So people, if they want to list their office space, either per day, per month, per year, whatever, you can Like if I'm in Orlando and you listed your space, I could just go on the app and click it, ping you guys so you know that I'm coming over, that kind of stuff. But I think that's what people really want. Is my biggest struggle when I was a young lawyer. Even though I was on these boards of consumer groups, I was not able to set up my own speaking engagements. I had to wait in line to do all these things. I was like, people got a lot of good stuff to say, so let's just let them do it. At our Just HQ, you can also go to the video library, on-demand content all the time of all the rest of the members, but you can create your own, so why not give everybody the opportunity to do it?
One of the things that has always most impressed me about the trial lawyer professionals is the willingness amongst the group to share with each other in a way that you don't see a lot of, I think, in a lot of other professions, even though you guys are technically competitors, although, most oftentimes you're more regional. But it is cool to see that and to see something created that gives this kind of access, premium access to people who have done it, built it, and then also, support people that are out there, doing disc cases and have a, what in essence is an incredible panel of experts to help troubleshoot or, make sure that ultimately the right result happens because of all the things that you guys help each other do. It's just cool to me to see that, and to see something built that really supports that is impressive.
The trial lawyers have like if you truly believe that you're here to help people, everybody has the same similar mentality. I think you probably see it like the people that have had great longevity in our profession that are great trial lawyers have like a commonality of the willingness to help, not hoard information and give away as freely as they can. Because I think most of us came from a lot of very humble beginnings that we were very happy that somebody else would put out a hand to help us, right? To answer any questions. And I think we owe it to give everybody it back as much as we can. And I truly believe that the better everybody does, the better we all do. Settlements all increase. We don't have to like force these cases into trial. Then carriers essentially learn their lesson, right? And everybody gets equal justice. And that's why I'm huge on I want people using systems in the back end. I want people using consistency on the kind of the vendors that they use, so that there's this less stuff that lawyers have to think about other than being a great lawyer is like one of my missions lately. So
yeah, you're definitely speaking my language. But it's funny, you talk about the mentality of giving back, and that's what led me to write both those books. I don't profit from them at all. If they make money, I just donate it to charity, because my thought process is if I can give back in some way, whether it's to trial lawyers who I've spent my career working alongside, or someone that's been injured, after going through it myself, I just feel like that. Yeah, you don't have to make money from everything you do, right? There are some things that are giving back in some way to help, and naturally that helps you in business. I believe it all comes back around.
Yeah,
it's like karma.
Yeah, I mean, before I go on the air like this, criminal defense lawyer that I've not talked to in literally years, but I helped out with a few issues, just called me with a huge referral. Like it's huge. And it was just because, we stay in, I haven't talked to him, but I probably texted him here and there and helped him a long time ago. And I mean, this is a massive case, and it's just, help for free. You never know what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit about technology, because you did a fascinating presentation for a webinar that we put on at the start of this year. And when I watched it, I was like, geez, man, there were just some bits and pieces that I took away, because I've just become a bit of a student of AI and what's going on, like I think many, because it is an incredible revolution that I think we're right at the very, very beginning of. So you are a creator of tech solutions for attorneys, and I'm curious about your take on how you see technology fundamentally changing the landscape of personal injury law, because it seems like there is an avalanche coming, and not that lawyers are going to be obsolete, but things that will make the practice more efficient, knowledge sharing, just changing the way things are done today.
Yeah, it will be more efficient, but this is why I talk about being that niche practice area, because we just saw KPMG get their ABS, their law firm essentially.
Yeah.
That's not going to mean a whole lot to the plaintiff delta of the table. But on the other side of things, it's going to have a whole heck of a shakeup. And I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the next 6 months just with that catalyst happening. I think the use of AI, if you know how to use it properly, as a lawyer, you can be way more competitive, way less overhead. And I'm not just talking about in the actual working of case files. I'm talking about using it for marketing. I'm talking about using it for intake. There's a real way for you to be able to have an opportunity to spend more time with your client and less time doing mundane tasks. Even you as a lawyer, especially you as your staff. Artificial intelligence is becoming smarter, faster, and less expensive. So there's a lot of products out there, and I can see them getting consolidated just because there's a big competitive market for all of these things. And don't be afraid of it. It's like, if you know how to vet and implement the right program, but you just have to learn how to ask a chatbot questions. That's how easy it's going to be for a lot of the legal based stuff. It's just asking a chatbot a question. The unwillingness to learn. It's going to be like not willing to learn like how to use your cell phone, right? Or, leaving a typewriter or a computer. Like, you have to just learn some basic stuff. And it's not that complicated and intimidating if you just try and just see how it uses. But there's a lot of caveat. I do a lot of lobbying and help writing bills here in California. And I know ones that are coming out about AI use, how you have to do it ethically. You can't just drop your client's medical records or any sensitive data in any open AI. You have to have protected HIPAA compliant or STARS like SOC 2 compliance to be able to do that. So just being abreast of those little caveats, and just talk to people who know how to do it, and then they'll probably be able to guide you on just some simple products you could do to maybe be more efficient and spend more time either with your family, getting more cases, or serving your client.
Are there some critical tools for improving a law firm's efficiency that you've come across that you think are worth talking about?
It depends on what people want to do with their firm, but I think you have to have some sort of CRM or case management system, especially like a CRM where all your client's information goes. So if you are doing marketing from your cell phone, or if you're doing billboards, doesn't matter. If you're doing grassroots to up level, it has to go somewhere. It has to be almost automated. It has to be stored, and you have to have functionality from there. And it's not that difficult to do those things. I could rattle off the good CRMs that I like to use, or other people use, because I know the integrations and stuff that they do. But I think a big one's coming this year is artificial intelligence being not only the AI chatbot that a lot of people have on their websites that are qualifying cases for them, putting them in buckets in their CRM where they need to go, is having a voice recognition AI, because I've seen all these, we've been vetting them. So intake will be a lot different. It'll be a lot less expensive than it is now where people have call centers, because if you have a sophisticated no delay AI chat or AI talking to you on the phone, it's also qualifying the cases for you. So if it's a really good case in your practice area, you can have an operator, or even an operator can jump right in. But if it's not, it's still qualifying the case, putting into your CRM. And what we're doing is building functionality that say it's an employment case in Illinois. It's going to know employment case in Illinois, what case qualifications that an employment lawyer would need in Illinois. And then we push that case from our CRM into Attorney Share, which is our marketplace, with a direct invite to that lawyer. So your staff's not on the phone with that client that you will not serve for you, but you're finding the best representation, and it's all tracked, automated, and done. Now, I'm not doing that on a massive scale. I think that's where the biggest disruption, because people are using it for medical records. We know and love products we use for legal research. We know and love products we use. The most disruption is going to come in this intake realm. I truly do believe that. So that's what I'm excited about this year, is exploring to figure out how to do that. Because I think, man, if our clients didn't have to sit on the phone with somebody saying that they were microchipped by the FBI and they want to sue the government 20 ways to Sunday, we'd have a lot more useful time on our hands.
It's amazing. We all get those voicemails or email outreach too, through, all the websites that we've got information out there on. So, yeah, I get it. Well, you touched on something just when you were talking about this, that you had mentioned during the webinar that you did for Synergy, and that was about the importance of having a closed data set when using AI in legal work. And I know you talked about SOC 2 compliance and protecting sensitive client data, which are, I think, areas of interest for you. At least you're knowledgeable on it. Can you talk about how law firms have to ensure that they're using reliable, secure technology tools and maintaining the ethical standards required by the profession?
You got to remember, first of all, like, this is why we talk about the stuff we're doing with California with the bill. If you send your client's information or even a deposition or anything that's sensitive into like an open AI, like a chat on or something like that, it's pulling information from everywhere. So that's not secure. That's going to be a HIPAA violation. It's almost like a data breach situation. I mean, we've seen a few of these other cases that happened recently, even with Morgan. And Morgan had one where they put in Wyoming, they filed a motion to eliminate or motion to exclude, and it had hallucinated, had the wrong sites in it. Now, if they're using their client's information, because that obviously went to an open AI, that was not a trusted source because it was just dead wrong. If they put that into an open AI that's putting client's information or case information out there for everybody to see, that's a big problem. We saw Siemens. I think Siemens is one of the biggest engineering companies, software, et cetera. They put some of their blueprints for some of their stuff. Some idiot put it into an open AI and people got their hands on it. Massive fail. So be mindful of that. I think if you're going to use an artificial intelligence product, first of all, test drive it. Ask them, are you HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 compliant? Can you show me that to make sure that the data is, one, secure? And then two, just test drive stuff to see if it works for you. When I say closed data set, is it's only as smart as what it's taught. So if you're using an information system, I like to use ones that are based on all of our best work product in my firm because I know the quality's there, right? You don't want to go, I use this analogy all the time. When you go to a listserv and there's thousands of lawyers on and you ask a question and somebody answers, you have no idea to know if that's the correct answer or the quality of that lawyer, unless you research it, if that's correct. This is what AI can eliminate is if you get the great motion samples or the great, you can even download books into an AI to ask questions about this collection of books, but you know what the data source is. So when I say closed data source, if it's just based on your firm's information pulling from your SharePoint to your case management system, and that's the source of truth that can hyperlink back to show you, I think that's important. So what I do when I test drive products is I will pick a case or a use case that I know the answers to cold, and I will ask their artificial intelligence those questions. And if it's getting it wrong data sources, and I know it's right, it's not the right product for me.
Interestingly, that leads me to the next thing I was going to ask you about, which is the fact that you've built an AI chatbot that helps with knowledge sharing and training in your firm. I think I saw somewhere that you created an AI avatar too, which is cool. Can you talk about the role of these AI-driven training tools in building a more efficient and well-trained legal team?
Here's the thing a lot of firms struggle with, even mine, right? It's who's training your associates, because as you scale, you can't be everywhere at the same time. And you get asked a lot of the same question repetitively. And you can only have so much practice guides within the firm or what you're supposed to do. Here's when you get asked this, you do that, et cetera. That just is very difficult to do. So what I found useful is, again, building that closed data source. My chatbot that I created has all of my deposition transcripts, trial transcripts, all the shows that I've ever done. So I'll probably, when I get this episode, what I'll do is get it transcribed, put into the data set of my closed universe AI, so it knows these conversations that we had. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, it'll know the book that you wrote. It'll answer some questions about it, we hope, so that whenever an associate will ask a question, it'll be able to spit out the information. And I'm going to look, just because it's just all day people are asking questions, I'm going to look and see what people are pinging about today. All right, I see 8 new messages today. Let's see what people are asking it right now. What is the case value of a case with a left hand trigger finger and carpal tunnel release surgery and 2 cervical injections, cervical discectomy infusion? And it answered. It's a 4-paragraph answer. And it has my voice. So it says based on, let's see if it'll play my voice, but it's pretty interesting too. Based on my extensive trial experience and recent verdicts in Southern California, I can provide a detailed analysis of the case value.
Looking at my firm's verdict history, particularly cases involving cervical procedures, this type of case has significant value. For a cervical fusion with the additional upper extremity procedures you've described, I would value this case between $2.5–3.5 million in Los Angeles County. I base this on several recent comparable verdicts, including our Sayartino versus Gosha case from 2024 that result.
I mean, this kind of stuff is crazy.
That's
so
crazy.
People go in here and ask, like, give me a deposition outline, and it nails it. Like, I've looked at it because you can go back and score and change the memory to make sure that it's accurate. Wow, these people are asking a lot of questions today. Do you want to come try a case with me? Well, depends. But again, this is a tool that associates other lawyers can use that otherwise they'd have to wait for my availability to answer that question or to see me or chat with me. Like, I see this helping on scale. Like, it might not nail the answer every single time, but look, even if it's 80% of the way there, it saves both people time.
Well, it's scaling yourself. I mean, that having that knowledge bank, which is basically a download of your brain to some extent, to, be on demand available to your staff. Like you said, that because you can only do so many things at once, right? I mean, so having that kind of tool at their disposal is an incredible accelerant for scaling up and growing a practice.
And I always think, like, how do you help one to many? So, like, on our show, hopefully it'll be released soon, but E.B. Arisek was on my bourbon proof this week. E.B. is one of the best trial lawyers I know, best humans I know. And we had this whole conversation about, as a trial lawyer, we help one person with that individual issue, one case at a time. Now, how do you take that and help many people at one time? And then how do you scale from there? So that's been my thought process for years. That's why we created Firm and then Justice HQ and then the AI stuff on top of it. So just imagine a world where you have access to, like, the best legal industry brains. Everybody gets the same collective answer, and then it feeds down to all the clients they're representing. And I think that's how you just change this industry, turn it on its head, and do it with so less overhead. And also, like, you give the attorneys a quality of life. And if the attorneys have a quality of life, they're better in a better mood, better headspace to represent the clients. And I mean, I truly believe in that. So we shall see, but it's working well so far.
Well, so we've been talking a bit about technology, and you referenced AttorneyShare. Matt Thielen, the CEO of AttorneyShare, was on the podcast previously, and you're a co-founder of this, what is a really innovative referral technology solution for lawyers. And I got a sneak peek at the technology and how it all works. Very, very cool. How does AttorneyShare disrupt this traditional referral model, and how can it help personal injury firms increase their network, their referral network?
I see it as two separate products within AttorneyShare. One is what we call this public marketplace. So any lawyer can post a case that they're looking for a referral partner on, say what referral fee that they're looking for, give facts of the case. Then you use your best judgment to see which person you want to work with. Maybe they're an ABOTA trial lawyer. Maybe they're part of this organization that you recognize. You get to pick who you work with. If you all agree, you upload your fee share agreement, and then we have the ability to track the status of the case. That's like the public marketplace. Find a new referral partner. So it's like lawyers who pick up a lot of cases or anywhere geographically, they can just drop them in. I don't care if it's like a social security disability case or a mini mass tort. You can probably find a home for it. The other side is what we call, like, lead management with case tracking. So you already have your referral network. Maybe you need the fail safe of this public marketplace if nobody picks it up. But, like, what we're seeing is, like, I'll send it to my top 3 referral sources for, say, medical malpractice in a given state. If they all say no, maybe they don't go public marketplace, but they get right of first refusal. So you bring in your existing referral network that you have, you can now expand on it, but you can also now track every single thing, regardless of what case management system you're on, which has always been a big problem. Everyone's on different systems. Now it doesn't matter what you are. The integrations are there. So I can go through my case management system, which pushes directly into AttorneyShare, and then I can just log into my referrals page and see the status of every single referral that we have inbound, outbound, see my fee share agreement, and the client case information. So I wanted to standardize that practice, make it so much more easy and transparent, especially from like lawyers that generate a lot of cases nationwide are sometimes placing these cases with a prayer, a whim, and maybe an Excel sheet. and I don't think that's fair for anybody. So that's the big vision. And then we're going to, adding the vendor integrations, the ability to do you need medical records? Do you need an access to the medical care doctors? Do you need litigation financing? Do you need lien resolution, right? If you need lien resolution, click this button to be able to have, again, those consistent systems that make it easy for lawyers just to lawyer. And I also see that there's a lot of case managers and intake departments that are on the system. So we kind of built that functionality. So you can have a firm profile with all your lawyers, have your case manager intake, and maybe one or two of the partners be able to manage all the cases in and out to do it very efficiently.
Well, from a purely opportunistic standpoint, to me, when I talked to Matt about it, it immediately came to mind this DOJ matter where the government went after a firm that had referred out a case, and the firm that took the referral settled the case, but didn't resolve the Medicare conditional payment. And the government chose to go after the firm that had referred the case out and said, you cannot just simply refer a case out and wash your hands of Medicare's reimbursement rights. You should have made sure the firm that you referred the case to resolved it, and they wound up paying the amount out of pocket because, the government can do that sort of thing. So I'm actually working on a little written blog post about that. And I think the technology that you're talking about has the power to allow trial lawyers who are referring cases out to also make sure that compliance-related issues don't crop up in addition to any other potential issues when they're referring a case out. So I think it's that transparency too is really important for
transparency. Yeah, like the fee share agreement or the co-counseling agreement should be there, ironclad, who's responsible for what. And then the ability, once the case has these certain milestones, they can report back and should be able to say, case resolved, we're in the lien negotiation stage, and it should trigger either side of the table to make sure that, hey, did we do our Medicare set aside? Right? Did you know about that ERISA lien? It has an additional QC that's mostly automated to make sure these things aren't missed.
I think that's some of the power of technology. We've built that kind of technology for our clients so that they can see throughout the process what's going on. That complete transparency allows them to sleep at night and be able to answer questions directly to the client when the client says, well, what's the status? What's going on with this? So, that use of technology, I think, is one of the important things that today clients want. They want that transparency. They want to know what's going on, whether it's us, you, whoever, it doesn't matter, right? That because there's so much power in the technology today that in a lot of facets of our life, we get instant notifications. We know, if you've got LifeLock, if somebody's trying to steal your identity. Right, that on your phone, you get that little ping.
The same, with the, updating not only with the status of your referral to another firm, but the same thing you talk about the client interactions is there's, a few products out there that sync with most case management systems that'll automate a lot of that, right? If a client pings, it'll be able to pull and extract that information and give them a base of where the status of their case is. And then you can jump in and when you have time to answer again. But people want to be able to contact their lawyers, have them get back to them quickly. That's always like a huge thing. It's a huge bedside manner. And if you could take those pain points away so that lawyers can maybe be in the courtroom for 6 hours a day and not have the clients worry about why aren't they getting back to me, it's a big solve.
I'm curious because we've been talking all about this technology, and I've not asked this question before, but I think it's an interesting one. Do you think back through your career now and think about any cases that perhaps leveraging the technology that's available today could have changed what occurred in a more positive way or maybe a negative way? I don't know.
You can certainly think of every situation where people forgot they referred a case, forgot who they sent it to. I mean, that's one, right? But other ones within like litigation and trial work, like I can think of so many cases of where we would have to outsource, say, deposition summaries or medical record reviews or summaries that were just inaccurate. But, we had to do it at the same time because we have to move efficiently. And I like to mostly read medical records if I'm trying the case anyway. Right now, there's products that'll do it very quickly with everything hyperlinked in like a summary. So you can like trust but verify and go back. Then creating timelines for there that you could use for trial. It's just such a efficient process, right? And then it also allows you to see if you're missing anything and if there's a huge red flag that you may have missed just through like, QCing the document, or again, talking the document with a chat or a search to see if you're missing something. But yeah, there's been cases where like maybe you missed a very important fact that was deep in the medical records that somebody else summarized that you didn't see, that's now caught by one of these AI products that aren't even that expensive.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see where it all goes. I think, like I said, we're at the very beginning, so it's going to change dramatically probably in the next 3 to 5 years. And I think it's all positive, though. I think it's going to transform the quality of work because of it being more accurate. To your point, you've got, if it's trained properly, you've got that expert that's going to review everything that you can depend on because you've trained it.
And then experts too, man, they should be using, and some are, a lot of these products to write the report so that when they're citing the medical records or even a study, that it's there and hyperlinked. It just makes it, and they're not charging you $1,500 an hour.
Well, you've been really generous with your time today. I do have one last question, and it's a bit of an open mic. I always ask it as the last question of the podcast. And it's, what's your view as a trial lawyer, legal entrepreneur, and tech guru? So talk about whatever you want to take us to the end of the episode today.
Wow, you're going to give me an open mic.
Well, we have talked before. I'm confident that this is going to be good.
I have a lot of people I help them with their careers, even inside of law and out. And I always ask the same question whenever I talk to them before I start. And it's, how do you define your happiness? Pick your perfect scenario of where you want to be in your life, your career. What does that look like for you? Sometimes people have a little, hard time defining what that looks like. But I think you have to define that first. If you define what makes you happy, you can build every single block to get there necessary. And saying, if you go off on a tangent, you're not going towards that place where you define happiness. Well, why are we doing it? Like, why would you, like, it's almost like having your life mission statement and sticking to it at all times. But I think the only metric that matters is happiness and quality of life. So if it's not going to that place, then what are we doing it for? But I think that's the open mic nugget that I'd like to give today.
Great advice, and tried to live that too. It's not always easy to do the work it takes to understand yourself. And I went on a really deep journey after my personal injury case. I got hit by a car while I was cycling, but 3 weeks in the hospital, 9 days in ICU, just couldn't talk because my jaw was wired shut and I was on a vent. But anyway, that gave me a little bit of a reset and time to think about things in a different way. Not everybody gets that opportunity, but it takes a lot of work to really better understand yourself and ultimately get to that place.
Yep. Do not disagree. Well, I mean,
it's worth it.
I like the mental gymnastics of this, man. Just like, because we're like the middle of the day for me on the West Coast. So it's good to have, I've been grinding meetings since like 7:30 a.m. and getting kids to school, come back. And now it's a good, just like decompress, get away from the emails, get away from all the chats that are blowing up in the text, just to talk about stuff. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining me today on Trial Lawyer View, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Here is another episode of Trial Lawyer View. We hope you enjoy today's guest and discussion. Tune in to our next episode for more helpful insights from fellow trial lawyers and practice experts. This podcast is brought to you by Synergy. Visit partnerwithsynergy.com to learn more about how Synergy can free your firm to focus on what it does best.